guys, my name is Jane and welcome back to my channel. So, see, I used to think my life was boring, right? I used to think I do not have stories until it got to the topic of horrible bosses. Now, if you know me, you know that I've worked in so many places and more than half of those were not pleasant. So today I'm going to be doing my first story time and I'm going to be sharing with you guys my experience with a horrible boss. So if you're out there and you're still going through this, you're still experiencing difficulties at work, I want you to know that you're not alone and this too shall pass. You're not going to be there forever as long as you have a good plan. And okay, so let me get into the story. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please hit the red subscribe button, turn on notifications so you know when I drop a new video. And please give this video a like if you like it. Now let me get into the story. Some years ago, a few years ago, it hasn't been that long, I don't want to think, back in 2019, I had just moved into a new apartment. I just moved in, paid rent, decorations and everything. So I was kind of like low on cash, and the most terrible thing happened. I lost my current job and I needed to get another job ASAP because I had spent a lot of money and I couldn't be out of job. So after I got settled in, off I go with my CV and I started looking for a job. So I got to this complex. I walked in. So when I walked in, I shared my CV to a couple of the companies there. Then I got to this particular company. And first I was going to open the door and enter, but then the door was locked. And there was just one lady inside. And the office was, okay, at the time I was outside, so I didn't know how big it was inside. So I was speaking to her through the glass. I was communicating through the glass. So I was like, is there any vacancy? She couldn't hear me, so she was like, we were basically using sign languages. Then I brought out my CV and I pasted it on the glass. And when she saw it, she now shook her head. I was like, okay, no problem. So I turned to go. I was, walking towards the stairs, and then she came out from the office and she called me. So when she called me, I came back. I followed her and I walked into the office. So when I walked into the office, the first thing that I noticed was that it was like a one-room apartment, the office. And when I say one-room apartment, I don't mean a very big room. It was like this compact room, one-room apartment. And she was there, and then there was this man. Apparently, he was the boss. He was the owner of the company. So when I walked in, he gave me this stern stare, and I greeted him, and he answered, and he was like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I'm looking for a job. Do you guys have any vacancy?" He looked me up and down. He was like, "Wow, that's bold." And I was like, "I'm broke, man. I gotta be bold." Right? So he was like, okay, he asked me what I studied, what I can do, and I told him all that, and he was like, do you have your CV? And I'm like, yes. He said, oh, okay, you know what, I don't like accepting hard copies. He gave me his email and was like, I should mail my CV to him, my resume. And I was like, okay, no problem. So I collected the email and I left. So I left, I went to a couple other places, and then I went home. So when I go home, I sent him my CV. I sent that to him, and the next day he replied. He got back to me and scheduled an interview. So I went for the interview, right? So when I got there, during the interview, that was where he told me that the lady I saw who was working there was actually leaving that month, because it was towards the end of the month, and she was going to leave at the end of the month. So I'm going to need to come in and replace her. But before she goes, I need to start before she goes so she can put me through, train me on, how things are done in the company and all that. I was like, okay, no problem. I was happy to have a job, honestly. So I went in. So when I went in the very first day that I went there, I noticed this lady that was supposed to be training me was, laid back. But before that, let's go back. During my interview, I was made to agree to a lesser salary because I was told there are going to be incentives that will come with my salary. I was going to learn how to drive. I was going to get an official car. I was going to get a gym membership. So there were a lot of things, a lot of incentives. And I was like, okay, if I'm collecting this amount of money with these incentives, then it's not all that bad, right? So I agreed. I started working. So when I started working, the lady that was putting me through, I was eager. I was excited. But I was excited, but I noticed that she was always laid back. She would always observe me and all. At the time, I didn't know why, right? So, but that was no problem. She was putting me through. But when it got to the call, right? The call. Apparently, they are a company that handles events and stuff. And most times they have to make calls to prospective clients, right? They have to make calls to clients to get them to book tickets and attend the events and all that. So she put a lot of emphasis on the call. Like, you have to be able to do this. The call is very important. And she trained me. She put me through. She made me take a pen and paper and write down, my mode of calling, what I'm going to say, how I'm going to be, and if I get such response, what I'm going to do. So that was like the major part of our training. And, I did that and trust me, this lady is not somebody you can impress easily, right? Because I did other things as well. She made sure she impacted that knowledge. So we did the call a few times. The first time she said it wasn't good. The second time, improvement, but it still wasn't there. So I did it a couple of times before finally she was like, yes, this is standard. Okay. I was happy. It's not often you hear yes from the lady. So I was happy, right? So we did our training and all that. But during the training, this I should have known. Has sent forth, right? Has sent off or sent forth, whatever, for the lady was just too much. At first, I was at work, receiving my training and all, and then the boss shows up with this very big tray of chops, fried turkey, fried chicken, all these things, like very big tray of goodies and drinks. And when he came in, he was like, what will we call this lady now? Okay, Faith, let's call her Faith. Faith is going, and we're really going to miss her. She has been an excellent staff. She has been this, she has been that. And in my mind, I was like, oh my God, this man is such a nice person, right? But there was something else that I noticed at the time. The lady, the Faith, her smiles were not genuine. Her laughs were kind of like forced, right? But at the time, I was like, people and their, I beg you, Jare, the man is nice. Me. So, we celebrated, we thanked God, we ate, everybody ate. I was even allowed to take home the remaining one. This was like the dream, right? Not the dream, but it was a good environment, basically. Or so I thought. And then we did the send forth and all that. We prayed, we thanked God, and we ended, and I went home. Now, I was in my house on a Saturday because I don't work Saturdays and Sundays. I was in my house one Saturday and I was called. And when I picked up, it was my boss, the new boss, ex-boss. I picked up and he was like, where are you? Why are you not here? I'm like, he said, today is not work. We're not working today. He said, no, we're doing faith send forth. I was like, wait, didn't we do that already? He was like, no, this one is more official. This one that we're doing now. My partner is here. This person is here. Everybody has come together to officially send her forth and welcome you into the company. I was like, okay, do I really have to come? He said, be here. Make sure you're here in the next 10 minutes. You cannot miss this. This is official assignment. I said, okay, no problem, sir. Fine. So when he ended the call, I dressed up and I went. Thank God it wasn't that far from my house, so I went. So when I got there, and I saw it was just him and one other man that he said is his partner. There wasn't like a lot of people. And then the girl was there. She was there, and then again, there was the fake laugh. And at this point, I was now beginning to get pissed. Like, obviously she doesn't want all this. So why do we keep doing it? And then, that was like the start. So I went because I was expecting there to be, if there was chops the first time, maybe this time, who knows, buffet or something. So when we got there, it was basically pizza that they called me for pizza and water. So, okay, I ate the pizza. It wasn't that it was pizza, it was just one, it was one medium pizza, right, for the four of us, like. So I went, I ate my pizza and, drank my water. And then, everything felt pretentious. Like, there was just this energy. I mean, I just came in, like, I don't know these people. But I could feel deep down inside that a lot of things has happened. A lot of things has gone down when I was not here that I don't know about. So there was just this energy, but it wasn't my business, right? I was called to eat pizza. I ate pizza. I drank my water. Then when they prayed for her, It was like this very long prayer. Like, what kind of boss prays for somebody that quit from their office this very long and very biblical? It's okay, no problem. Maybe that's how it's done here. Maybe they're churchy. It's okay. It's fine, right? But the long prayers and everything. But this time, I mean, the girl still had the laugh that doesn't get to her eyes. But I could tell that she was happy. At the time, I didn't know she was just happy to be finally rid of everybody. But, I was progressing. So, after the prayer and everything, they made a few dry jokes and everybody was like forcefully laughing. And I was beginning to get uncomfortable because when I fake laugh, the next thing I get is headaches. Like, I can't, if it's not funny, I don't want you to feel bad, but I can't laugh, right? Because I don't want to have headaches. So I was just waiting for them to pack it up so I can go home and get ready for work the next week. Because now this is my center, this is my play now, right? So finally, the party or the gathering ended and then I was allowed to go home. So I came home really excited, did my laundry, ironed all my clothes, got everything ready to make sure that I get to work very early on Monday. First impression, all that. So I did everything. I got to work on Monday. Work was fine. Everything was okay. My ex-boss was really nice. He was really nice. I think the first day he came, he asked me, well, another thing I noticed is, we keep talking about the office, the company, other people, but it's always the both of us, right? Him here, me here. It was like very too close, right? Too close. So, well, okay, no problem. As long as, it's a good environment, it doesn't matter. So, first week was okay. First week was nice. He was nice and all that. But then I was even allowed to go home early on the first week, a few days in the first week, maybe a day or two, I don't know. So, it was okay. It was still nice. And the second week, he started psychoanalyzing me. Yeah, when I say psychoanalyzing, he started asking me very intimate questions about my life, what I want out of life, what I hate, what my past has been like, what my challenges are, he started asking me very, very personal questions. Like, maybe not, personal in the sense that they were things that had to do with my mind, my mindset and all that. Basically psycho-evaluating me or something. But at the time, I did not know. That was what was going on. So I was, forthcoming. I felt like, this is an avenue for me to be expressive. So, I should, I was actually open. I was, I spoke my mind. I'm like, this feels like therapy, right? And this is a chance for me to, speak up and all that. So I was open because that was the foundation that he laid. He made me feel comfortable. He made me feel like, even from the time that I was coming for my trainings and stuff, he made the office feel like a safe place. And I felt safe, right? So after the second week, from the third week, I started noticing that, he started doing some, displaying some erratic behaviors, right? He started, sometimes he'll call me very early in the morning and start asking me for a particular number from the database. Now, database is like it's like company documents, right? And anything that belongs to the company, you're not supposed to take outside the company. Now, I'm supposed to resume by 9, but I'm supposed to be at work at least 8:50 or thereabout. Now, he will call me around 8 in the morning and start asking me for a number from the database. And mind you, the contacts in the database is over 5,000 or more, over 10,000 or something, right? Start asking me for a number from there out of the blue. When I'm like, okay, I don't have the number, and he would say something very bad, something very rude, like, that's very unprofessional, you're this, you're that. What kind of stupid response is that? Why would you tell me that you don't have this? You're supposed to. That wasn't bad. The first time that happened, I was like, okay, no problem. I should try to do better, right? That was my thought and my response. That was okay. I should try to do better. Fine. Now that wasn't bad. Next time around, when he comes to the office, he'll give me tasks, things to do, things I'm supposed to do, things I'm supposed to get done. But then when he comes to the office, he doesn't ask me for those things that he asks me to do. He'll start asking me for other things entirely. And it's like this, when you bring this one, let's say he asks you something out of the blue and I'm able to present it. At first it's like, okay. He comes up with something else again out of the blue. If I'm able to, he keeps bringing it. He keeps bringing it like this, like this, like this until he gets the one that I don't have or I wasn't able to do because I was busy doing all the other things. And then he sparks. He starts saying things like very rude things, very aggressive things that I can't even stay here. Like, calling names, you're stupid, you're so this, your job, you don't know your job, this, that. Are you sure you're okay? Now, this was the one. Are you sure you're okay? Like, are you sure you're really okay? Then the next thing he will say, okay, stand up, come and sit here. Now come and sit in front of him. And then that's when the psychoanalyzing starts. That's when he starts, telling me things based on the things that I've said before because I felt like I was in therapy. See, don't trust anybody that's not a therapist. It's some of you all, So, that would happen. And then, it was just too chaotic. Like 1 minute is really nice and good and, the environment is okay. And then the next minute, everything kind of like blows up. And it's like chaotic, like everything is all over the place. You don't know what you're doing. That's at that time, when this started happening more often than not, I knew I was in a horrible boss situation, but I needed money. I needed, to be able to bring my credits up and all that. So I stayed, continued working. So, the next thing that happened after this was it kept getting worse. One Saturday, because I said before I don't work on Saturdays, I was at home. I was at home with my siblings, enjoying my weekend. And then he calls me up and he asks me for a particular number. Now, because I've been calling that number, I've called that number a few times during the week. I was able to, memorize it. And, when he asked me for it, I was able to call the number. Then when I called the number, he paused. Paused for a while. I was like, are you there? He said, how do I know this number? Do I have a copy of the database? I'm like, no, I don't. Like, it's company is something, like I'm not supposed to take it out of the office. It was like, so how do you know this number? You called me on a Saturday to ask me for this number. If I didn't give it to you, you probably shout at me. Now you called me for the number, I've given you the number. Now you're asking me, how do I know the number? Like, how do you think I was going to know the number when you called me, right? And then I was like, I called the number, a couple of times, so I was able to memorize it. He paused again. I paused too. I was listening, and then the next thing was like, okay, good job. No. And then next thing, he ended the call. Then when he ended the call, I was like, okay, maybe he's mad because, I know the number. But later in the day, he called me. I was like, good job. It's like, okay, thank you. But, I just knew that good job means the following week, he's going to turn up the heat. I just knew because he had become a pattern already, so I already knew. So the next week, he started giving me tasks. I'll go to the office. He will not call me when he doesn't show up to the office. He will not call me all through the day. And when it's like an hour, 2 hours to my closing time, that's when he will now call me and give me a task. He will keep me there. I'm supposed to close work by 5. I will stay there till 9 in the night, 9 p.m. I'm supposed to close by 5 p.m. So he did this. It was just 1 week. 1 week, that week, the whole of that week was just like that. He gave me tasks, tell me if this doesn't finish, don't make sure you don't leave the office. And he gives me those tasks at very odd hours. Okay, no problem. This is probably another test that I'll pass, so it's okay, no problem, fine. So I was doing it, right? I was doing it. And then it was okay. But at this point, I was already convinced that I'm in a bad boss situation. But it was still paying, so I gotta suck it up, right? So, but he was already taking it to the whole calling out of the blue, very early in the morning. Most times, those very bad calls are early in the morning. Calls very early in the morning and spoils my whole day. And then follow up calls to rub salt to the wound. So it was beginning to tell on me. It was beginning to take it to, but I was still there. So the next thing that happened was the call. You guys remember the call, right? The call. That was the call that I was trained to be able to make. So, he came to the office one day when it was like, he's done this, he's done that, he's done the other one, every other thing, but I'm still there. Then he comes and he's like, are you making calls? I'm like, yes, I'm making calls. Making calls, you're seeing clients, right? So that means I'm doing something. But he's like, you're making calls? I say, yes, I'm making calls. He knows that I'm making calls. He knows I've been calling these people. I've been giving him information about what this client said, what that client said, who registered, who paid money, all those things. He knew. Then he came and was like, are you making calls? And I'm like, yes, I'm making calls. I was like, okay, well, you would need to make one of those calls in my presence because I need to, make sure that you know what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Why are you making money? Why are you making money? Right? So I was like, okay, no problem. Because I was confident in myself. I knew I was doing it right because, I was getting results. If not any other thing, I was getting results. So I was like, okay, no problem. I was really up for it. But from his facial expression, I noticed that wasn't what he was expecting to hear. I think the call was like one of those things that he uses to break people. So when I was excited to make the call in front of him, he wasn't really excited about that. I could tell from his facial expression, but who cares? So he was like, okay. So, he was like, pick up the call. He brought a couple of numbers of people that I'm going to call. First of all, he gave me the numbers and he was like, these are the people you're going to call. You know what you're going to say, right? I said, yes. I said, what are you going to say? So I told him, because, I have been doing it for a while. So I told him, if this happens, this is what I'm going to do. If that happens, this is what I'm going to say. If I get this response, this is going to be my response, all that. First, he was quiet. Now, most times when you do something that surprises him that he's not expecting, he'll be quiet for a while. But then he'll be like, he's not just going to let you just lie. Still. So, well, he was quiet for a while. Then he was like, well, that's not quite. You see, when you say my name is, it sounds like you're in kindergarten. It sounds like you're a child in grown people's business. You're not supposed to, he just took the whole thing that I have been doing all this while. The most painful part was that this formula that I have was given to me by my predecessor, right? By the girl that was there before me, that trained me. And it was given to her by him. And this is something that I read to him in my first week of working there, and he was like, perfect, it's okay. But now all of a sudden, it was no longer good enough. He was now picking it apart, like, this is childish, this is rubbish, this is stupid, this does not make any sense, this is nonsense. I was like, okay, no problem. So what am I supposed to say? And then, he goes ahead and he said, instead of saying my name is, just say, I am Jane from so company. And I was like, okay, no problem. I'll do that. Is there any other thing you want me to change? I was like, it could be so much better. Like this, well, it's okay, fine. Just take it and do it. Right? But sit there, go back to your seat, sit there, and let me watch you do it. I was like, okay, no problem. So I went back to my seat, I sat down, I took up the phone, and, immediately I was about to start dialing. He was like, are you really sure you know what you're about to do? It's like, at this point, I was like, what's going on? Like, I was like, yes, I know what I'm about to do. I was like, okay. He dropped everything he was doing and just turned and faced me. I think at this point, it was just, physically, intentionally trying to intimidate me or something. So I took up the phone. All the while I was thinking in my head, paycheck, 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 paycheck. Because if I wasn't concentrating on paycheck, I would have stood up and said something but paycheck, paycheck. So I took up the phone, I called the client, and immediately I opened my mouth to start talking. I said a few lines, and then he started interrupting me. When I'm talking, he's talking to me at the same time. I'm trying to talk to a client. You're talking to me at the same time. I'm saying the things you asked me to say. But it's like at that particular moment when I'm doing that, that's when you decide that you no longer want me to say the things you want me to say. And you want to change it. But I'm already on the line with a client. And now I'm talking to the person. I'm still trying to listen to you. And still talking to the person. And when I finished that phone call and I ended the call, it was like, that was horrible. Like, how can you call yourself a professional when he said a lot of things. But at this point, something in me was telling me that I am not this man's problem. This man has a problem, but I'm not his problem. So I was calm. I was just listening to him. I was just talking and talking and talking. He said all the horrible things he had to say, and when he was done, it was like I didn't say anything. He was looking at me, but searching my face. I didn't say anything. I was just looking at him. And next thing was like, call the next number. Like, okay. I called the second person, and I don't know how, because I believe at this point, I would have, all his words would have gotten to me, but for some reason, it didn't, it got to me, but for some reason, I felt like I had to not sure that it got to me. So I took up the phone and I said, and I made the second call. I was calm. I made the second call. And when I finished making the second call, he was like, "You're too calm. You can't be this calm when you're talking to clients. You have to let them know that you're in charge. You have to be in charge of the call. You have to." I'm like, okay, no problem. I have to be in charge, right? Okay. So I called the third person. I was still calm, but still intuitive. I made sure I was driving the call. When I ended, he said, "You can't be too persuasive. You can't come off as, being too in charge of the call. You have to be calm, yeah?" He thought, it's okay, no problem. It's okay, fine, no problem. So I called the fourth person, and I still made the call the best that I could. I made the call. So after making the call, I ended the call and turned to him because I was waiting for him to, stop from where he stopped before. Our eyes locked for a while. He stared at me, I stared at him. We stared at each other for a while. Then he turned and faced his laptop, went back to work, and I went back to calling other clients. So that was that day. I continued with the calls and he continued to work. But all these things, I was telling myself, I was focusing on the fact that in the paycheck, I have responsibilities and all that. And even though I know this person is a horrible person, I felt like I needed this job, so I have to keep it at all costs, right? So I was going to do what I gotta do. Then one day, this was what happened that actually made me realize what I was into, right? I was at the office, then this lady came. I think she was his lady friend because apparently he's married and his wife was nursing a baby at the time. Because one day I was in the office and somebody came to greet him and the person was asking him about his wife and baby. Now this girl that came did not look like the wife. Wow, it's not my concern. So I was in my corner, like I told you people, the office is small. So anything they are saying, everything they are saying, I'm hearing. It's not because I want to hear, but because office is small. So I was in my corner doing my work, focusing on my focus, minding my business. And then they were talking, right? So most of the things they were saying was not sounding like she was the wife. But like I said before, it's not my concern. And mind you, I told you people, I collected a small salary because he said I was going to get a gym membership. Me and Jim. I agreed. He said I was going to learn how to drive and get an official car. I agreed. All these things, all this while I've not gotten them. The topic has not even come up. Just sometimes in the weekend he will call me and say, I have spoken to the gym, coordinator, and I'll get back to you on Monday. When I come on Monday, we start with one chaotic something. We will not talk about the gym stuff again. We will not talk about the car, whatever again. So that was it basically. So at this point, I was beginning to feel like this thing is not really worth it though. But still there because above every other thing, paycheck. So I was all sitting in my corner, him and the girl, they were talking. So basically she was having some issue at work. I think she was fired unjustly or suspended unjustly, and she was trying to she was trying to demand her rights. She was trying to contest the firing. She was trying to contest it. And, she drew up this mail, this very articulate mail that she was going to send to the person in charge. And, they were just talking and talking. And then the next thing she was like, "Why are you being so quiet? Why are you not saying?" And then he opened his mouth and he did to her exactly what he used to do to me. He told her that everything that she wrote there was nonsense. She was not making any sense. She was not being professional enough. She was being there. She was being that. She was being the other one. Like he said a whole lot of things to her. She was like, the next thing when she read it, it was like magic. The whole thing just kind of like didn't make sense to her anymore. First, she cancelled the whole thing that she has written, and then she started asking him, "So what do you think I should say? Well, how am I supposed to present it? How am I supposed to do it? What's the best way? All this." She was at his mercy at that point. And me, at that point, I was interested. I wanted to know because she has read the mail and I've listened to everything that she has read. And it made sense to me, right? But to him, it does not make sense. And then I was now listening to see the correction he was going to give, what he's going to tell her to do and not to do, and how that's going to... I was listening. And then he took the mail, he drafted another one and gave it to her and said, "This is how it's supposed to sound." When she read it, guys, it was the same thing. He just changed just a few things like is to was, but it was basically the same thing that she wrote before. That he just, that's not even the crazy part. The crazy part is that she read what she wrote, but she did not recognize that it was the same thing that she wrote. And then she was very grateful for writing what she wrote in his own handwriting. I was like, maybe because I was seeing it happen to somebody else, I was like, is this what has been happening to me? At that point, I knew there was trouble. I started looking for work. I started looking for another job. I was like, no, this is manipulation. This is abuse. This is, does not make any sense. This person might be a narcissist, might be whatever he is, and it's not healthy to be there. At the point when I was working there, it goes to the point where on Sundays I will be having anxiety, like almost panic attacks when I remember that I'm going to work the next day. It was that bad. Like, I was just not comfortable. Even when I'm at home, I know you can call me at any time and just say something or do something or send me to do. I was just uncomfortable. Like, I started looking for another job. And I was really diligent. So everything I was doing at the point was not really bothering me anymore because I know I had a plan. And, one day I just called him, texted him and said, okay, please, I'm not working again. Get somebody else. He was like, you know, asking why. I told him I got a new job, this, that. And he was like, okay, no problem. Bottom line, because of this noise, I can't continue. So I have to wrap it up. I'm so sorry about the noise, guys. So, but you need me to train, to stay until you get somebody new, and then when the new person comes, I can train the person. I was like, okay, no problem, fine. So I stayed, but for the while that I stayed after after I told you that I was quitting, it was nice. It was very, very nice. Sometimes when I finish early, you tell me to go home and go and rest. I'll go on my rest. It was nice, but I knew at that point I was just acting. It was not feeling me anymore, it was acting. So I stayed until he got somebody new. So when the girl came, she asked me why I was quitting, why I was leaving. I didn't want to do a protocol. I didn't want to start telling her. I just told her the person that came before me worked for 3 months. The person that came before her worked for a few weeks. The person that came before that person was here for 1 week. Me, I worked here for 2 months. So, pass your own judgment. Pass your own judgment, right? So, whatever you think, you're going to do the work, right? It might be different for you. You might stay here and, And the girl was really nice. She was really somebody I liked. She was really, we kind of like vibed. So, when I told her that, I was like, come to your own conclusion. So, whatever you decide to do, it's up to you. So to cut the long story short, she didn't finish the 1 month. So thank you guys for watching this video too, and thank you for subscribing to my channel. Thank you for liking my videos and sharing them. So thank you again for watching this video, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.